Hi guys, I'm back with another few chapters of Renee Watson, Some Places More Than Others. I'm going to pick up today with chapter 11. And remember, Amara is still in New York with her dad and Grandpa Earl. My first day in New York is ending with Sunday supper. Aunt Tracy is here with her daughters. Nina and Ava are in high school. Nina is 16, Ava is 14. I have never met them in person, but Aunt Tracy always sends photos, and I've talked to them on the phone a few times. Our conversations are always awkward because none of us can think of anything to talk about. I've seen Aunt Tracy a bunch of times when she's come to visit Oregon. She always says, next time we'll bring the girls, but she never does. Mom says it's because airfare is expensive and it costs too much for a family of 3 to travel when Aunt Tracy is the only one working. Nina gives me a hug when she comes in. Ava does too, but not as tight. She seems more interested in watching the TV. She sits on the sofa, picks up the remote, and starts flipping through the channels. She does this like this is her home, like she is not a guest. I wonder how often she visits Grandpa Earl. Wonder if this is her second home. Dad comes downstairs as soon as he enters the living room. Nina and Aunt Tracy are bombarding him with hugs. Ava gets up and hugs Dad too. Dad looks them over. It's so good to see all of you. Tracy, your girls aren't little girls anymore. My goodness. Aunt Tracy smiles. I feel the same way about Amara. Where did the time go? Grandpa Earl is sitting in an armchair just watching and listening. He rubs his head and says, my son and daughter and all my grandchildren in one place. How about that? I look at my family, study them for a moment. Nina and Ava look just like Aunt Tracy, who looks like Dad. Not just in features, but in the way they move, how their faces make the same expressions, have some of the same mannerisms. I wonder if my baby sister will look like me. Will I see my reflection in her smile, or hear echoes of my voice in her laughter? I better get dinner ready, Aunt Tracy says. I can help. I've always wanted to cook in Grandma Grace's kitchen. Well, thank you, Amara. She looks at Nina and Ava, who are now watching The Wiz with Grandpa Earl. She shakes her head and says, come with me. Aunt Tracy takes out a pot from one of the cabinets. It is deep and wide. She teaches me how to make gumbo, and we make cornbread too. Once the cornbread is finished baking and has cooled a bit, Aunt Tracy says, slice the cornbread for me, baby. She shows me how before handing me the knife. In square chunks like this. The last dish Aunt Tracy is making is dessert, banana pudding, Dad's favorite. Dad comes into the kitchen, looking into the pot and snooping around. Aunt Tracy shoos him away, swatting him with a hand towel. I can't get a taste test, a little sample, just like Mama, Dad says. They laugh and Aunt Tracy says, I'm not completely like her. You see, I'm the only one in here working. I can't get Nina and Ava to be interested one bit in cooking. Mama had us in the kitchen up under her all the time. But these girls, they'd rather be on their phones or glued to the TV. Dad smiles. He looks at me, pulls me close and says, this one right here is my little sous chef. I'm trying to pass Mama's good cooking down to her. It feels so good to be in his arms. I have him holding me while he's talking about Grandma Grace. Ava comes into the kitchen. Mom, you're in here cooking like it's a holiday. Well, it is a special occasion, Aunt Tracy says. Ava looks at Dad. You should come visit more often, Uncle Charles. Hush now, Aunt Tracy says, laughing. Mr. Arnold and his wife arrive with a few other friends that Dad hasn't seen in years. Everyone gets to hugging and laughing and fixing plates. We don't sit at the formal dining room table. Instead, we're scattered all over the living room and kitchen, fitting in wherever we can. The television is off now, and Grandpa Earl has a jazz record playing on his record player. I can barely hear the music because everyone is talking so loud. Aunt Tracy, Mr. Arnold, and Dad have been telling stories about all the wild things they did when they were my age. Aunt Tracy says, remember that time we snuck in the church's kitchen and drank up all the grape juice during Sunday school so there wasn't any left once the deacons were ready to prepare communion? Everyone laughs. Nina says, Mom, you would lose it if me and Ava did that. You got that right. Glad you know, so don't even try it. We all laugh harder. Aunt Tracy says, I'm serious. I can't have you out there acting like you have no home training. You two represent the Baker family. Dad mumbles, you sound like your father right now, worried about the Baker name. Aunt Tracy gives him a don't start that look and keeps talking like Dad didn't just say what we all heard him say. So Amara, tell me, what are you into these days? The last time I was in Oregon, I could barely pull you away from your books. Grandpa says, sounds like Charles. When he says this, Dad puts his fork down. Now what's wrong with that? It's my turn to give Dad a look. Grandpa Earl says, nothing wrong with it at all, son. Nothing at all. Mr. Arnold is either clueless to the tension or trying to help. He says, do you write poetry too, Amara? Maybe you'll be a poet just like your dad. Dad gets up and goes into the kitchen. Nah, I want Amara to be who she wants to be. I'm not trying to create a mini me. He looks at Grandpa. I don't want my child growing up with pressure to be someone she's not. The room is quiet. It's not the kind of quiet that happens because everyone is eating and there's no time for words. Not the quiet that comes at the end of the day with a good friend who you've talked and talked with for hours and have run out of things to say, but you still want to be together. No, this silence is not refreshing. It's not comforting. It feels stuffy, like a too hot attic, like the inside of a car that's been sitting in the hot sun all day. Finally, the silence breaks. When are we going to get into this banana pudding? Dad asks. Nina and Ava go into the kitchen and help Dad dish out dessert. I look at Grandpa Earl, try to tell him sorry with my eyes. He smiles a little, just a little. Nina has 2 bowls in her hand. She gives one to me and then says to Grandpa Earl, are you having dessert? No, thank you. I think I'm going to call it a night. This old man can't hang as late as all of you can. Grandpa Earl gets up, says goodnight to everyone, and goes to his room. I feel my phone buzzing. It's Mom wanting to FaceTime. How did she know to call at this moment? I answer. Hi, Mom. Hey, Amara. Wanted to talk with you before it gets too late. How's everything going? Good. We just finished dinner. Things are good. I tried to sound convincing, but I'm not sure that it's working. Mr. Arnold comes behind me and says, hey, Leslie, it's a blast from your past. Mom screams and I hand the phone over so they can talk. After Mr. Arnold and his wife talk with Mom, the phone passes like a communion tray. Aunt Tracy talks with Mom next, then Nina and Ava have their turn. When they're finished, they give the phone to Dad. Dad asks, how's the baby? Well, I had Braxton Hicks last night, so I'm just taking it easy today and resting. And you weren't going to tell me? Honey, I'm calling now. I was going to fill you in. I know you're with your family. I don't want you to worry. I'm fine. I'm fine. I can come home now, Leslie. Just say the word. I'm fine, Mom says. Aunt Tracy notices me listening to every word my parents are saying, so she taps Dad on his leg, says, maybe you should go upstairs. Dad leaves, and I really want to follow him, want to hear everything Mom is saying about having Braxton Hicks, whatever that is. I want to listen to Mom's voice, see if there is any worry there, any fear. Aunt Tracy comes over to me and says, don't worry. I had false contractions with Ava. It's normal. Your mom is okay, and the baby will be healthy. Aunt Tracy scoots closer to me, and just having her next to me makes me feel better. A little. I don't feel like eating my banana pudding, but I don't want to waste food either, so I eat a spoonful. Dad calls me upstairs. I take the phone, go into Aunt Tracy's room, and close the door. I look into Mom's face. The first thing she says to me is, I'm okay. I'm fine. Promise? Promise. The baby is okay, she says. How's our secret challenge going? Not good, I whisper. I tell Mom about dinner and about the walk home from the coffee shop. This is going to be harder than I thought, I tell Mom. She says, if anyone can bring those two together, it's you. Chapter 12. The next morning, Dad is out of the house before Grandpa Earl makes our oatmeal. He has a breakfast meeting and then a site visit at the NBA store. Grandpa Earl says, I can call your cousin and see if they can take you out today. They're on midwinter break. I'm sure they need something to do. Grandpa Earl might be the only person I know who has a landline. He picks up his phone and dials the number from memory. He must have the volume as loud as it goes because I can hear every word they're saying and it doesn't sound good. Grandpa, we don't feel like babysitting, Ava says. You're not babysitting, Ava. You're spending time with your cousin. So she's here all the way from Oregon. Don't you want to get to know her? We just hung out with her all night last night. I want you to come over and spend some time with her. Isn't your mama at work? You two don't need to be sitting up in your house all by yourself all day. Nina must have grabbed the phone because now she is talking. Grandpa, we'll be there as soon as we finish getting dressed. Grandpa Earl hangs up the phone and then says, they can't wait to show you around. Does he really think I didn't hear them? Within the hour, Nina and Ava are ringing the doorbell. They hug Grandpa Earl, and the way he lights up lets me know they are two of his favorite people. He doesn't look at me that way, but how can he? He doesn't know me. Hi, Amara, Nina says to me. Her hair is a whirlwind of curls. The thick black coils fall to her shoulders. Ava doesn't say anything. She walks straight to the kitchen and goes into the pantry, taking out a box of Nilla wafers. They're both dressed like they're going somewhere special, not just sightseeing. Their faces are painted with makeup and their clothes look like they were put together by a professional stylist. Me, on the other hand, I don't know the first thing about putting on makeup. Not that Mom would let me wear it anyway. I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt with my Nikes that Titus gave me. And of course, once we go outside, I'll have a hoodie under the winter coat Mom got just for this trip. Their coats are what Mom calls cute, but not practical. Grandpa Earl walks over to the door and grabs a key off a hook that's hanging under a mirror. He tells Nina and Ava, here, take the spare key so you can let yourselves back in. And just stay near the house. Take her over there to 125th and let her see the Apollo. Grandpa, no one wants to see the Apollo, Ava says. Yes, I do, I admit. Ava doesn't think I see her rolling her eyes. What about going to Times Square or someplace like that, she asks. Grandpa Earl shakes his head. Just stay close to home. Grandpa Earl gives Nina and Ava a lecture about looking out for me and making sure I have a good time. We got it, Grandpa, Ava says. She mumbles to Nina. Grandpa acts like we've never been nowhere before. We walk outside. Let's walk down to Lenox and then we can head over to 125th, Nina says. We walk on 129th and when we get to Lenox, we turn left. I look at the street sign and notice that it's also called Malcolm X Boulevard. Can we stop so I can take a picture of the sign? What sign? Ava asks. I point. You want a picture of that? Ava looks all kinds of confused. I take my phone out and zoom in so that I'm sure to get the full name. I take the picture and think how I will include this somehow in my suitcase. We make our way down Lenox Avenue. Every now and then, Ava turns to me and says, stop looking like you don't belong here. But I don't know what she means by that, so I just keep walking. The streets aren't as crowded as I thought they would be. The sidewalks are wide, and even with a few vendors on the edge of the sidewalks, there's still plenty of room to walk. I am thinking maybe Mom was exaggerating about how busy New York is with its bustling streets. But then we get to the corner of 125th and Lenox. There's a crowd of people crossing the street, going both directions, and cars forging their way through and whizzing by. There's a Starbucks on the left and a subway station on the corner. I want to take a picture of the subway entrance, but I know Ava will think I'm making a big deal out of nothing, so I just act like it's not a big deal, and there's an actual entryway to an underground tunnel. I wonder what it's like to be underground, to have a whole world moving above you. I think about the fact that we are walking on top of people who are moving around under us having a whole different experience than we are. There is so much to look at, I don't know where to put my eyes. I look up at the street sign and see that 125th is also called Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. I wonder why streets here have one name and then another, like there are two worlds here, two ways to go. I want to get a picture of where Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevards intersect, but the light changes and we need to cross. We turn right onto 125th. It's full of people, some moving quickly, some walking slowly, others standing and watching it all. There are vendors set up on both sides of the street selling everything from purses to black art to incense and perfume to jewelry to gloves and scarves. A long line is in front of the cart across the street where people are waiting to buy a hot dog, pretzel, or roasted peanuts. I stop and pull out my phone so I can take a picture. A woman bumps into me and Ava goes to fussing at me while Nina apologizes to the woman. Can't just stop in the middle of the street, Ava says. And what is there to take a picture of anyway? She asks. Come on, Nina says. We'll stop at the Apollo and you can take a picture there. But other than that, we have to keep it moving. The more we walk on 125th, the more people there are to navigate through. The sidewalks are too crowded for the three of us to walk side by side. Nina and I walk next to each other. Ava is in back of us. Oh, H&M, let's stop in there, she says. Nina shakes her head. We're not shopping. We're supposed to be showing Amara around Harlem. She doesn't want to shop at H&M. Nina's right. Ava huffs and walks faster. Well, can we at least go on the way back after she sees everything? Yes, Nina says. Well, come on then. Ava leads the way and we follow. She is walking so fast and so far ahead she doesn't hear it when Nina says, let's stop here so she can see the statue. Nina has to call out to her twice to get her attention. We stop in front of a statue of a man with his coat jacket swaying in the imagined wind. He looks like he's moving, going somewhere and looking straight ahead with a determined face. Are we going to stop at every little thing? Ava asks. Nina gives her a look and Ava gets quiet, and I think maybe later I will ask Nina how to give the big sister stare down in case I'll need to use it on my baby sister one day. Ava walks back and joins us in front of the statue. This is Adam Clayton Powell, Nina says. He was a politician and he was a preacher, Ava cuts in. That's what Grandpa told me. I think he was both, Nina says, not at all masking that she's irritated with her sister. The point is, he did a lot for Harlem. He organized rent strikes and fought to integrate places of business so that Black people could work anywhere and get fair pay. I take a few pictures, then take a photo of the silver pillar he is standing on. There are words written on the side. Keep the faith, it says. Sitting on the benches that wrap around the statue are groups of people eating and talking on their phones and blowing into their cold hands. 3 drummers entertain a small group of people who've crowded around them. They tap and hit the African drums, their hands moving fast and dancing in the air. A few people have their phones out and are recording, others sway from side to side. And then there are people who walk by as if they don't hear the beat of the drum at all, as if it's normal to have an African drum session in the middle of the sidewalk. I lift my arms up high and take a photo of the whole scene. Nothing like this happens in Beaverton, I say. Nina says, maybe we'll visit one day. My mom is always saying it's a shame she doesn't see her brother much. I'll show you around if you come, I tell them. And I won't be annoyed when they notice how instead of tall, tall buildings stretching to the sky, there are pine trees standing tall like ladders you can climb into the clouds. And when they want the car to slow down so they can take out their cameras and capture Mount Hood towering over the city, looking close enough to touch, I'll understand. And every time they say, it's just so clean here, I won't sigh or huff or puff. I know I can promise this because this is what Titus said when he first moved to Oregon, and I never, not once, made him feel bad for noticing how different our worlds were. We keep walking, and then I see marquee of the Apollo just ahead of us. I try to act like it's no big deal, especially since Nina and Ava don't seem to care at all. Once we're standing under it, I realize that there are people out here taking photos, so at least I'm not the only one. Have you ever been inside? I ask. A bunch of times, Ava says. I can hardly hear her because there's a man not too far away speaking into a megaphone about Jesus being the white man's God. And not too far from him, there's a man yelling out, "Got your gloves right here, right here. Got scarves, got hats, cold out here. Got your gloves right here." I take a few pictures of the marquee, and all I can think about is all the stories I've heard about Michael Jackson and James Brown singing at the Apollo, how performers would rub the wooden stump for good luck. I swipe through all the photos I've taken so far, choosing one to send to Titus. Titus replies to my text with a photo of his math book and says, "Nothing exciting happening here." Nina looks at my phone. "Who's that?" she asks. "My best friend, Titus." "Your best friend is a boy?" Ava sings. "Your best friend is a boy? Does your mom know you have a boyfriend?" "No, he's not my boyfriend. He's my best friend." Okay, Nina says. I put my phone in my pocket. "Come on, let's go down Frederick Douglass." Nina leads the way, and once we are at the corner, I see the two street signs at the top of the pole: Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard and Frederick Douglass Boulevard. I stop to take another picture. I say to Nina and Ava, "Can you imagine what it would be like if Frederick Douglass really met Martin Luther King on a corner?" I wonder what they would say to each other. Nina says, "That's a good question." And I think maybe Nina has an answer to give, but Ava interrupts, shrugging her shoulders and saying, "Let's turn here. You'll probably like this street." We turn left onto Frederick Douglass, and Ava was right. I do love it. There are restaurants and stores block after block, and then I see a statue of Harriet Tubman in the middle of the street, in its own sectioned off space. Like Adam Clayton Powell, she looks like she is in motion. It looks like she's running. I don't even have to ask to stop to take a photo. Nina and Ava cross the street, and we stand at the statue, taking it all in. Now that I'm closer, I see roots are coming from her back, digging into the ground. I take pictures. "I think I'll print these and put them in my suitcase," I say. I tell them about my suitcase project, and Ava says, "Oh, so that's why you're taking pictures of everything. Like my homework assignment is the only reason why I want to capture the place where my dad was born, the place that raised him." I take a few of the whole statue, making sure that I get some close-ups too. First the face. She's not smiling, but she doesn't look angry. She looks determined, courageous. I walk around her, look at the back of the statue. There are footprints stamped around the bell of her dress and faces carved into the bronze. I take close-ups of the faces and footprints, think about how many people she led to freedom. Then there are the roots. They are brown and thick and intertwined with each other, anchoring the statue into the cement. I take a picture of the roots. I get real close. Ava reaches for my phone and says, "You want to get in one of the photos so that you can send it to your boyfriend?" She smiles when she says this, and Nina laughs, so I don't think it's funny. Even though I do want to be in the picture, I don't want her to take it. I give my phone to Nina and say, "Let's take a selfie." We pose in front of Harriet Tubman, and I am starting to understand why Big T is always saying there's no place like New York. No place else that constantly reminds us that we are important, that we come from a people who sacrificed and fought and protested for us to be able to walk these streets free. What is it like to be reminded of this every day? In Oregon, I only see stuff like this in museums when there's a special exhibit up that celebrates Black history. But here, right outside in the middle of the street, there's a reminder. I wonder if the people who live here ever stop and take it in. Do they ever stand here, say a prayer of thanksgiving? "Can we please walk back now?" Ava says. "I just want to look in H&M for a little bit. I promise I won't take long." We head back to 125th Street toward the store. The whole time I'm walking, I'm thinking about those statues. Adam Clayton Powell and Harriet Tubman in motion, eyes fixed on something far, far away, feet rooted and grounded. I want to feel like that. Like I'm connected to something. Like there's a history keeping me moving, living. Like the journey I am on has many footprints, many stories coming with me. We spend an hour in the store because Ava is trying on outfits and can't make up her mind about what she wants. "Why aren't you trying anything on?" she asks. I shrug as if I don't have an answer. I wish I had the boldness to tell her that I did not come all the way to New York to shop at a store that I can shop at in Oregon. Ava tries on another dress, and then after talking with the woman at the counter, she says, "Let's go to the one in Times Square." They're holding this in my size. She holds up a hunter green dress. I look at Nina. "But Grandpa Earl said..." And that's where I'm going to stop. We're not quite at the end of this chapter. This chapter, chapter 12, is very long, but because of time, we'll stop right there. And when we pick up again with the rest of chapter 12, we'll find out if they head to Times Square or if they listened to what Grandpa Earl told them to do.